You're sad.
Yo, get away! Papa Bears in the
Oh, sweet Jesus. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of BPMs, where Blue Pickle Muppets run television programming and we discuss it.
Yeah, that's exactly what they do.
New World Order confirmed.
Now, wait a minute. Now, if I'm not mistaken here, didn't the Muppets just come under scrutiny for, like, being racist?
I thought that was Dr. Seuss.
Well, somebody had posted that, and then I saw, like, the Dr. Seuss, but then it had, like, the Muppets next to Dr. Seuss. Did something happen with that?
I didn't know.
catch
Everything's canceled. It's
Maybe
fine.
they're just next, because I know the Pillsbury Doughboy's next too.
That naughty little doughbelly.
It's because he's 100%. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome, everybody. This is episode 9 of BP. Episode 9. Episode 9.
Very good.
Wow, I'm having problems. I even said this is the sound of 1,000 napping asses earlier, so whatever.
The 1,000 napping asses.
We're off to a great start.
Whoa,
anyway.
you've really been listening to In Prism, huh?
All right, so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to BPM, where Blue Pickled Muppets take over television networking, and we discuss all things about it. I am joined by Jan the photographer.
Hi.
And Trevor the musician.
Hello.
And we are here to have some more, obviously, just fantastic goofball fun with you all. And today's special topic is, we decided that since a while back, a few episodes ago, you guys decided to throw me under the bus and be like, "Oh, Blaine, what's it like being a promoter? What's it about being Papa Bear? I want to know what it's like to be the big bear in the house."
Is that really what I sound like?
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it was one of those
Every
things where...
Cold Hearts album.
And it was one of those things where I told you, come here. It's okay, son. It's okay. But we decided that today we are going to
Found the YouTube thumbnail.
we are going to throw Jan under the bus, and we are actually going to talk about getting into concert photography. So this episode is a bit more focused towards photography. We will be getting into videography as well a little bit, as you have been dabbling into that realm.
It's really just dabbling. There's people who are so much better at it
I
than
understand.
am.
I understand that, but the reason why I want to bring it up is because it's showing your starting process from it as well, because you are now a rookie getting into this. And if you guys haven't noticed, we've been putting out these lovely, wonderful commercials for the BPM podcast. Anal seepage, anal seepage, anal seepage, anal seepage. And as you can tell, anal seepage is kind of our catchphrase in all of this. So it started with Trevor and his, "Are you taking the right steps in life?"
Papa Bear and Associates.
Papa Bear and Associates. Followed by the wonderful Precious Moments in Life commercial that was just released as well. And I just wanted to give a huge shout out to Jan, because he really, really has been diving into this so hardcore. You went out, you bought that new camera. What was that? The Sony
A7 III. It's still on the floor.
Sony A7 III. Oh man, there's still glass everywhere. So he bought the new Sony A7 III. He's really been trying to push it further and harder. I'm really, really, really impressed with what he's been doing, especially for just starting out in videography. He's been a photographer a long time, so I mean, obviously he knows his lighting. He's got the basis down for it.
It does translate in a sense. That's something I definitely want to get into, especially if we can get somebody with a lot more video experience on this podcast at some point. If that's you and you're hearing this, reach out, please. We'd love to. But yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun, and honestly, like we know what's coming,
Right.
and there's so much good stuff that is in the pipeline right now.
So I'm just going
And
to...
by good, we mean mentally disturbing.
I'm just
absolutely.
going to throw this out there. If you see me out in public,
Anal sleepage guy!
please don't do that.
And it has happened.
It
I have
has.
bared witness.
It has.
But more or less, we wanted to kind of jump into that kind of a topic today and just kind of see where we went with this. It's always been something that's been fascinating and intriguing to me, because I am not the person with, like, I can watch a band and I can see their moments where it's like, man, these guys are performers. These guys are really good. But I've never had that, like, how do you capture that one shot in an essence and get that feeling from one photo? So I'm actually really excited to kind of talk with you about this stuff today, because it's one of those things where it's like, I want to know what it is that you actually look for. Now, granted, some of it's obviously pure luck, and if you just happen to catch something that nobody was expecting, it's awesome. But there are tricks to it, like knowing where to place yourself and what to look for, and those little cues and ideologies that can like hint you in the right direction.
What I'm hoping to take from this is more knowledge, because I'm usually on the opposite end of the camera that you're shooting with. So what I'm hoping to take from this is knowledge of how to be better on stage for the photographers that I'm working with.
Yeah.
So basically, I kind of laid it out. Any type of photography falls into 3 stages. You have your pre-production, your production, and your post-production. And concert photography is no different, but it works very differently within those individual stages from regular photography. Now, I think the biggest thing, if you want to be a concert photographer, is to be a photographer. Start taking photos. Take portraits of your friends, take band promo photos. I don't know, take landscapes. Do whatever makes you happy with your camera, but get to know it inside and out. And the reason I say this, and I can't stress it any more than that, if you don't know your camera well enough to, in a dark room with lights flashing all around you and people moving quickly, change your settings to what you need it to look like, you're going to have a bad time at a concert. And don't get me wrong, it gets a lot easier if you're playing open-air venues, if you're playing very well-lit, high-end venues. But when you get into photography, you're probably going to be, shooting smaller local shows. And smaller local shows, typically the lighting isn't all that great. And really getting intimately familiar with your gear, where you can operate it by touch, basically, that's a massive plus. Now, when I say operating it by touch, it's just, changing your shutter speed, your focal length, your ISO, the 3 basics of the exposure. Being able to change that blindly, that's really what it comes down to. That's the big one. The other thing that I can tell you is, for pre-production, know what you're going to shoot. If you're going to shoot a local band, find out what they sound like.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. Know the
songs. Like, I have a couple of local bands that I get some of my best shots during my favorite songs of theirs because I know exactly what I'm about to expect. One of the examples I'll use is our locals' Rising Enemy. Luigi's Ballad. I know when to shoot Cody he has that one long scream in there. Yeah, that's a beautiful shot right at the end of it. Yeah. And I know it's coming, and I'll climb on something to get it because he always leans back when he does it.
So you kind of caught me off guard here. You jumped straight into the topic, and there's nothing wrong with there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I was actually going to do one of those tell us, Jan, when did you start doing this? How long have you been doing it for? Where did you start? Because you obviously did not start in the music field. No. You started in other aspects and areas, and you kind of touched base with that when you said, get familiar with your camera, learn to love it, no matter what you're shooting. And
I used to be I would call it a photo generalist, I suppose. I've done portraiture, I've done landscapes. Really, when I moved back into the Pacific Northwest, where I live now, I took my camera back up because I wanted to take those landscape photos. We live in a gorgeous area, and my goodness, I absolutely loved taking pictures of that. And being able to do that, it really made my love for photography even bigger, and I got back into portraitures, which I used to do back in the Netherlands, where I took macro shots as well as portraits. And eventually, at some point, somebody asked me again, because I have done this back in the Netherlands a fair few times, but never to this degree. One of my coworkers at the time was like, "Hey man, I'm playing a band and never get any pictures of me because I'm the drummer, and nobody ever takes pictures of the drummer. Could you take some pictures?" And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Let me just look, where are you playing? What is the show about? He's like, oh, it's this local show. Here, I'll send you the link on Facebook. And he did. So I reached out to the promoter, and he's sitting next to me right now, about taking pictures at the show. And that's how I kind of rolled in from regular photography, which my coworkers knew about, to band photography. It honestly was kind of by accident, and I just fell back in love with live music through that.
Cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, more or less, you did not start out in thinking
No.
at all minutely that you were going to be photographing bands and anything of that nature. But you found that because of your love of music and just with the right opportunity, you found yourself there. Now, I want to state to photographers who are out there that are looking to try to get into band photography, literally how it worked. He showed up to take pictures of his buddy. I saw that he had a decent camera. It wasn't just like a small little Nikon or, something you get from
my small little Nikon by comparison.
Well, in comparison to what you use now, but in the grand scheme of life, it was one of those things where you showed me that you were actually taking photographs. You weren't just there. And one of the things that I cannot state enough is that when I noticed he had an actual camera and I noticed how he was taking the photos, I went up and approached him as the promoter stating, hey, would you be down to do this on a more regular basis? And he gave me his business card and we talked for a little bit and he came to the next show, which happened to be Ginger.
I think what happened was that was your band's reunion show as well.
Okay, so I don't know for certain if that was that show or not. There's so many.
I'm pretty sure that was the first show I came to shoot.
Was that the St. Patty's?
Yeah.
Okay, so if it was the St. Patty's, then yes, that was our reunion.
And what happened was I think you asked me after my buddy's band played. He was like, hey, could you stay and take some pictures of mine? Like, I'll pay you for it. And I was like, you don't have to pay me, but I saw you had Ginger coming. Can I please shoot Ginger too? And that's kind of how we ended up working together.
Right. And the thing that I want to stress to people is that, like, if you're comfortable with your camera, go to some shows, take some photos. And even if you're not doing it for the house, just bands in general, if you can show them, they'll be like, hey, we've got a bigger gig coming up. Would you be down to come and take some shots of us?
That night alone, I was there for my buddy and to take some pictures of him as a drummer, which didn't work out.
And just for the record, that was for Simple Minded.
Simple Minded,
is that correct?
yeah.
Yes.
That was Simple Minded. It was Jason who happy belated birthday.
It's true. His birthday did just pass.
Yeah.
I made sure to say hi on Facebook and things.
But no, that night there was a few other bands. I think Desolate played that night too, but I'm not sure.
I want to say it was Simple Minded, Desolate, Stress Fed Addiction, and there might have been one more. Maybe I think it was Somewhere Between. Is that the name?
I am not sure that I
can't
stayed
remember.
the whole night.
It's so hard to remember having all these different shows. Moving on.
It was a while ago. But no, after that night, between that and the very next show I photographed, which was about 2 weeks later, I had 3 bands ask me, like, hey, you took some pictures for my friend's band, or hey, I saw you there at the show. Just if you're a photographer and you take some photos of bands, even if they are not the best photos, even if you are not the best photographer, they're gonna be better as long as you put a little bit of effort into it. They're gonna be better photos than that band's best friend is gonna take on their cell phone.
Right.
They're just gonna look better because you don't have the downside of cell phone photography. Don't get me wrong, cell phone photography can be absolutely great, but there's
poorly
a lot of
lit, limitations to it.
And especially in poorly lit venues, strobes going off everywhere, a lot of movement. Those cameras are not designed for that. They're designed for general use. Whereas, a DSLR or a mirrorless camera that's higher end, you can just capture more with it.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to. Do you have a question that you want to throw
this is all good knowledge. I'm honestly really intrigued. That's why I'm silent.
So I'm just gonna actually, one of the things that I did want to pop in when it comes to the pre-production of it, if you have the opportunity to show up early to a local show as a photographer, do it.
Yeah,
just do it.
Especially if they're going to be running the lights.
That's my very next. There's 2 people other than the promoter you want to talk to. The first one is whoever's controlling the lighting setup.
Usually the sound guy.
Yep. Talk to them and make clear, like, if you have particular limitations to your gear, if you have things you would like to see in photos. I for the longest time shot Nikon, and honestly Canon too. The red channel blows out really quickly, so if the only light you have on a set is red light, you get black and white photos at the end of the night. That's what you're getting.
I do know that red light is a bitch for photographers.
And that was the question that I was going to ask before you jumped into that. What are some of the biggest struggles in the venues? And you're kind of touching on it, so let's keep going with that.
And I'll touch on that again. I promise. But the biggest,
I'm sure.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I do ahead of time is like, hey, even if a band asks for it, if they want to do just give us red and strobes is the other one, where strobes are great for lighting, but you capture like 1/250th of a second with your camera. If the strobe's not on during that 1/250th, you get a black photo.
Yeah.
And nobody wants that. So, you're going to be spraying and praying at some points, which is entirely fine. It happens. But the other thing, too, is like if there's a lighting guy, if there's a sound guy, you're like, hey, where can I, like if you have strobes you can control remotely yourself, your own flashes as a photographer, can be a godsend in small venues. And ask him, like, hey, is there a particular place you would like me to put these? I've taped them to the top of your sound systems before. I have put them under drum kits before. There's a venue in Portland where I'm pretty sure there's still tape residue sitting over the restroom door. I'm sorry.
Wait, I want to hear the story on that one. Why'd you have to put? Was it a small venue?
It was a very small venue.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
It's for as the people are coming out of the bathroom when all the guys are like fixing their junk, he can get those sweet shots.
The light was pointed at the stage, I promise.
oh man.
Wow, I'm just
we live with you. We know your fetishes.
That's a whole different podcast.
It's the feet.
Oh, I thought it was the Braille porno magazines.
That's it.
That's it. But no, one of those things, if you have your own lights that you can use, great, use them. But don't get in the way of your sounding like that. Especially one of the big things I will stress, I've had my signal for my wireless lights interfere with wireless microphones.
Absolutely.
Check ahead of time.
Yes.
Please check ahead of time. If you can just get the sound guy to get on stage and just say into the microphone while you trigger those flashes and there's no interference, you're golden. Don't worry about it.
That's
But if
interesting.
there is interference, turn the fuckers off.
That's actually something that's actually known with the sound guy side of things as well, is that you usually technically should not ever, unless you have to, plug in your lighting into the same feeds that are feeding power into your sound equipment, because it actually really fucks with it.
Oh, then this is just radio signals.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
and I understand
Yeah.
that, but what I'm saying from like the
Yeah.
promoter
The
aspect,
power draw. Of,
Yeah.
when it
just the way that
flashes.
it does lights, it completely
Strobes
fucks
are a
with
massive power draw. Yeah.
strobes, color changes. Most people will tell you that you usually should have your lighting effects on a different power source than the one that you're doing it through.
That's
for your sound.
Man, I'm learning a lot right now.
This is technical. It's stuff you don't think about, but
Yeah,
when
no,
we're setting
really,
up stuff, it's like, no, we have to think about this.
I've never thought about that.
I had one that would literally cause like a wave in like the way the sound was coming out of the speakers, because it was drawing power from because of the strobes. So like if the sound is supposed to be it was more like coming through the speakers, and I was like, what the fuck is causing it? And why is he singing like that? I was like, oh, he's not. And then my buddy was like, dude, you hooked up the strobes into the fucking same power.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit.
The other thing I will say, that when it comes to your lights as a photographer, great for small venues. Bigger venues, using flashes, your own flashes, you're probably getting kicked out. Not only do they not want you to bug the band with your flashes as a photographer, you're washing out the light that they have spent literally thousands of dollars setting up. Bigger venues, you typically don't have to worry about there being adequate light. If you are playing at a larger venue to a crowd of, once you get to venues that have over 800 people, there's typically a permanent light system, and they typically don't like it when you fuck with it.
Yeah. Well, and another thing too is going into those venues, like you said, if you can look at those places beforehand, you'll get a pretty good idea. If it's a smaller spot, they may not even have lights.
Yeah.
It might just be, hey, guess what you get lit up by? That neon Coors Light sign in the mirror.
I've
It's
definitely
like,
played
that's
at
it.
places like that, where it's like, why do you have a giant built stage, but you have normal house lights above us? Like, it's weird.
It's just little things that some venues just don't think about it. It's like, no, we provided the stage and the sound. You're good.
Yeah.
No, there's lights too.
If you own a small live music venue, putting $500 into sound responsive lights is going to make your shows look so much better on all your promotional material.
Yeah.
Video, photo, whatever it is, it's going to look better.
I remember that when I started doing Papa Bear and Associates and I started doing shows, that was the one thing everybody grilled me for. Where the fuck are your lights? Like, I had none. I had none because I'd put all my money sunk into the sound equipment. Yeah. So I was like, well, no, we needed to have the QSCs and the subs and everything else. I was like, I'm trying to get the sound, but then I was like, God, this sucks without the lights. This really sucks without the lights. Yeah. So then I went and bought some of those stupid little ones that you can get from like Halloween stores where it's like a little stand and it's no bigger than your fist, but it like rotates the head and it shoots sparkle lights everywhere. And I was like, well, it helps, but it's still kind of chintzy. It took me probably a good solid 8 months to a year before I really went and bought like actual par lights. And
I remember at the Eagles, we had Jan shoot us one time, and it was nowhere near Christmas, but there were those Christmas-esque lights in the background, and I can't remember.
I love those damn things.
No, me too.
Absolutely fucking hate them.
Well, yeah, I know you hate them, but I liked them.
And I'll tell you why, too.
Go ahead, and then I'll finish.
Christmas lights flicker, and they flicker at a frequency of roughly 1/500th of a second, which means that if you're shooting at 1/250th of a second on your camera...
1 out of every 2 shots.
Yeah. So basically, half the lights will not be on in the photo.
Oh,
it looks like ass.
But I can't remember who it was, but I was showing them photos at work one day, and this is when I still worked at the forklift place. And they're like, oh, well, was it a sick Christmas show? This was like last year, right? And I was like, no, this was last week.
Yeah, no, we left those bastards up for quite a while.
I thought it looked sick because I just liked the way it looked.
They look good in video, but in photos, they're just absolutely horrible.
Yeah, no, for photography, there's so many different aspects when it comes to those things.
Yeah.
More knowledge.
Learning.
Yeah, I'm learning so much right now, and it's only been a little bit of time. I like it.
Okay.
The other thing, other than meeting the light guy, meet the band.
Yeah.
Let them, if you're there as a house photographer, especially, just introduce yourself. If you're there to photograph a particular band, meet the other bands. Be like,
I was going to say, might as well see if you can snag some more business out of it. Yeah.
Or worst case scenario is like, hey, third band up's my buddies. Are you guys okay if I take some pictures of you guys before that? Like, you're the first 2 bands. Can I take some pictures of you guys? You might get a no. Maybe there's like, oh, no, we have our own photographer. We'd prefer you don't do that. It's happened to me before. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's fine. I don't give a flying fuck. But chances are they'll be like, yeah, sure, free content. Why the hell not? You get to take those photos so you can use them in your own portfolio. But the biggest thing, too, is if you are being paid for the third band up and you can spend 2 whole sets getting your settings dialed in for that lighting, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if you can actually get one of those bands to be like, yeah, cool. No, would you be willing to, let us see the photos, and if there's any we like, can we pay you a little bit of money for it since you're already here? And I've seen you get away with that as well. It's just like, might as well see if you can make a little extra cash on the side of it,
Right. Capitalize on it a little.
For the record, I also have the benefit of having a promoter who would literally go up to bands and be like, oh yeah, if you want like all the photos that he's going to take of you, if you want like the higher quality ones, yeah, just hit him up. I'm sure he won't charge you too much. I didn't even have to do my own promoting. He did it for me.
Yeah, no, a lot of people like me for that.
No, you are good at that.
Yep, and it's part of it.
I went and got a real quick funny story. This is completely off topic. It's about tattoos. So I went and got a tattoo at the tattoo convention. Now, for those of you who've never been to a tattoo convention, it's where they have just hundreds of booths and tattoo artists from all over the states and the world just come down and they do tattoos. The guy who was doing my tattoo, he was like, oh man, I'm really like sucked into this. I keep forgetting to stop and like say hi to people when they're looking at my portfolio. I was like, do you want me to do it? And he was just like, what? And I was like, yeah, dude, I'll rep you. What do you got? What do you got going on? Do you got like any like, because at a tattoo conventions too, they'll also like have designs and they'll have specials. So it's like, if you get this design, it's normally a 4-hour piece. I normally charge $100 an hour, but because it's the convention and I really want to do this piece, I'll do it for $250.
Yeah.
It's kind of stuff like that. So I just had him lay it all out to me real quick while he was taking a breather for a second. And I shit you not, I must have talked to at least 60 people that walked up to that freaking table. And I was like, hey, welcome down to the booth, man. How's it going? And they're just like, oh, I didn't know you were a fucking artist here too. I was like, I'm not. I'm just somebody getting tattooed, but I love this dude's work and I'm down to talk while he's busy focused. Because what he would do to zone out is he would put his headphones in and he would just focus
on his tattoos.
I mean, you're living with his work longer than he is.
Right. And, honestly, I wanted to give him that kudos. And at one point, he actually, I didn't catch him do it, but he took one of the earbuds out and he heard me talking to the people. He's like, can I just, take you with me? Because you're just freaking awesome, dude. You
Get
just
paid in ink. Why are you still here?
Because I have no desire to move. I think that guy was from friggin' California, and I was like, I don't want to live in California.
That's dope, though.
But yeah, the dude was
that's a
totally
dope
cool
experience.
about it, and I was just like, damn, I love your tattoo. That's the one that has my my hot rodded semi truck with like a rat fink style grizzly bear coming out of the top of it.
The more and more you tell me about the tattoo conventions, I just want to go now.
September.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, just come down in September. I get free passes every year.
Oh, I need to go.
And they do live music and stuff there too, but it's not stuff that they ever ask me to do anything about because they have like
which is fair.
bands that literally just do conventions and stuff like that, and they're still cool as shit. It's just they kind of have that stuff.
I've been on photograph the tattoo convention before, and I didn't photograph the bands. I just photographed the tattoos because those bands are, don't get me wrong, they're great, they're playing, they're making money, but they're not performers.
They're not cover bands, but they're not
OG
bands, if that makes sense. Like they're musicians and they're good at their style, but they're there and they're not trying to be performers. They're just giving music for the place. And if somebody's waiting on someone who's getting a tattoo, they can go and watch a band play or something. I'm not docking it. Please understand. They're they're
dope.
kind of in between that realm of like live performance and cover band. It's just it's musical entertainment for your guests.
That's still dope and something to check out at least.
Yeah, I always enjoy it. I always go say hi and still introduce myself and shit. So
that sounds really fun though.
No, anyway, I'm sorry.
You're fine. You were totally fine. So yeah, talk to the bands. The other thing is, if like for me, I like to crawl on stage with bands. Basically get on stage.
Bars.
Yeah, I'll get there in a second. Trust me.
And piggyback rides.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
But typically, like, if it's a band I have absolutely never met, especially if it's a touring band, like, I don't know what you guys are used to. Like, you don't come to our shows every week. Like, you don't know that I might get into your face. Like, if you're playing or you're hanging out with a drummer and suddenly there's a camera next to you. I like to give them a heads up. I'm like, hey, is it okay if I get on stage with you guys, get some photos there? And it also saves my ass because they'll look for me and I don't get the headstock of a guitar smacked into my lens, which is a really, really nice thing to not have happen.
Now, as a promoter as well, I would also like to point out, and as you know what, I can say this as a musician as well too. If you're a photographer and you're going to be photographing for bands and stuff like that, I cannot stress this enough. Get over your fear of not getting on stage with them.
Yep.
You need to get that done. As he was approached for the first show that he came down to one of mine, his buddy specifically said, I am the drummer. Nobody ever gets pictures of me. That is crap. If you are trying to get into band photography, and I'm not trying to dog you, not like in your first stages, but start getting on stage. Start talking to the bands first so they know you're there, and then get pictures of everyone. Because if you've gone through that whole set, there is nothing more depressing as a band, and I'm sure you can attest. Oh, we got some sweet pictures of the singer. We got some sweet pictures of the guitarist, but nobody got the bassist or the drummer.
Yeah.
That bums me out so bad.
Normally I'm a drummer by trade, but I do vocals mainly. But back in my first band, being the drummer, it was like I had to literally request, hey, I know we've already paid you, but this time could you actually take some photos of me? Like, can you get up next to the drum set? Like, it's not a big deal, but it does.
No, but it is.
It is.
And that's what I'm saying. You shouldn't walk away from that experience feeling like it sucks.
Yeah.
You know they're trying to do the job, but if they don't get past that fear, then you're always going to have to live with, I'm going to be paying for something I'm never going to be happy with.
And it's not cheap either. I mean, depending on who you use. Yeah. So
the other thing there too is to keep in mind, really, as a photographer, the drummer typically is in the darkest corner of the stage, which is a pain. If you have the opportunity, like I said, put a strobe underneath his kit, light it up in a weird way, just get funny with it, do whatever you want. But the drum kit ain't gonna move. Once it's there, and that means you know your angles before they even start playing. You know exactly where the drummer's going to be. You have so much opportunity. The other thing is, for a drummer, you can typically predict their movement pretty easily. That big ending, hands up in the air, it's a good shot. Get it.
Well, that, and there's also the fact, too, that the drum kits at most venues are going to sit in the same spot for every show because you only have so much space to work with at a stage.
That's why when I started working with you, we re-angled a couple of the lights so that we got more light on the drum kit. In particular, we set it up so that on a typical right side ride, it would bounce light into the drummer's face. and man, it makes a world of difference.
It
But
really
that's
does.
something, another reason, get to know your venues, get to know the light guys at the venues. The more you work with them, the more they can work with you, and the better the end product is at the end of the day.
So, as somebody who's in the promoting field, I want to ask this: is it crazy to think about suggesting to photographers, since that's kind of where we're aiming this direction at? Would it be crazy to suggest to people that, as a photographer, maybe invest in 1 or 2 par lights? And I'm asking this like from the promote. I don't know if it benefits you, because I know you have your flashes. I know you have your stuff. But say like you have the live show, they've got lights. But like you said, the drummer is typically not the one that gets lit up the best.
So there's a couple of things to that. I would say if you are a photographer and you're just getting into concert photography,
just getting into it, I get a no on that.
Even having been into it for a while, I don't own them. And I've shot plenty of small venues that just don't have a lot of light. I also like to capture the light that's in the venue for as much as I can. If I can't, if there really is just not enough light, I will typically just dig my regular strobes out of my camera bag for the very simple reason that they're quick. They don't need a power draw. They run on AA batteries or rechargeables. And
you can get pars that have that too.
I didn't know that. The ones I've seen that would last for a show. Because that's the thing. It's a constant power draw with those things.
No, they do make pars that are battery powered.
Right, but it's a constant draw. So even if you're not taking pictures, they're depleting the power. Whereas with strobes that you're using, only if you're firing them are they drawing on the battery.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
And at the end of a set, typically my batteries will be drained in my flashes.
No, and I understand that, but I was just saying, would that be something that you would suggest to anybody, or just not really?
Not really.
Because my pars are only like that big, and they don't take up a ton of space.
No, they are still about like 3 times the size that my strobes are. But the big thing is find a solution that works for you as a photographer. If you find that a light like that, a hot light, even an LED setup with an SPF battery on the back, if it works for you, it works for you.
I was just curious because, they'll do the red, green, blue, white, yellow. So, it's one of those things where it's like, if they do have lights on the stage, you can set it to a color that's not going to throw off the rest of the performance, but still get like that colored light shot on a drummer. I just didn't know if that's good advice or not.
Typically, like I said, I think most venues should make the investment in, because as a photographer, it is way more fun and more unique to the venue if you capture the venue's lights.
Right.
That is something I will stick by every single time. But now, if there's no lights and you want to get photos, photos are just capturing light. That's the whole point of them. So you need some of it.
Yeah.
And whatever solution you find that works for you, works for you. I will never recommend or, say not to use gear as a photographer, because it's whatever works for you.
No, I get that.
And that's the other thing too that I wanted to mention. Gear when it comes to camera body, camera lenses, as long as you got something that could shoot fast and wide, not too worried about it. I like full frame cameras better for low light situations, but I started shooting on an APS-C camera, just a more low budget camera than what I'm using nowadays. You can get a lot done with little gear as long as you just put the work into it and know what you're doing with it. And that means practice, practice, practice.
Okay.
So I actually have a question.
Yeah.
Being a vocalist, I think of, weird ideas and things that I can do to add to my performance. How do you feel about vocalists or bands that bring their own lights themselves?
That's part of the performance, and it's something to capture. The only thing is, if you bring your own lights as a performer and they're all red strobes, fuck you.
Well, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, for instance, Artificial Alien, Caesar, us vocalists, we don't really carry much gear to begin with, and besides our own personal microphones.
Maybe you don't.
Well, no, I definitely carry a lot of gear.
He carries the car keys too, bro.
Those are really heavy in these tiny hands.
God, I really want to have that topic sooner than later.
Oh, right?
The one
It'll
about
come.
singers needing to have real gear.
But my point being is, I don't really travel with a ton of gear. I travel with 3 mics just because I like to have the backup and, just different situations. I use a different mic in different venues. But Caesar would bring his own little light array and he'd put them in front of the guitar cabs. Is that something that you kudos to? Or?
One of my favorite artists that I photographed on a smaller show is Nathan Radvocate. And Radvocate has a massive light show that he has pre-programmed with an ego box, with hazers, the works.
The guy is legitimately
Yeah.
like, holy shit, your light show's better than what I could give you.
Yeah,
That's dope.
Yeah.
he comes out with a whole set worth of light, and I love capturing it. Because and to me, like, if you make it a part of your performance, I'm gonna want to capture it. It's gonna help. Any bit you add that is unique to your performance, yeah, do it. The other thing that I will tell musicians too, because we're kind of getting into like the production of it, the actual shooting of it. If you're a musician and you're on stage and there's a photographer right in front of you, like every once in a while, look at me, bro.
No, yeah.
I get that it's weird looking into a camera, but it definitely does not hurt your photographs if you're looking at them, because the person seeing that photograph is being stared
Is
at.
then being looked at. Yeah, I think we actually discussed this, 4 episodes back. It was a really quick topic, but it was like, don't be afraid to look at the camera.
No, and I honestly, like, it's one of those things, and it makes or breaks photos sometimes.
Still, my favorite picture you've ever taken of Cold Hearts to date was our tour kickoff. I straight flipped you off because you got in my way.
Well, and that kind of interaction
That's because we're
works
friends.
too.
That's because we're friends. I wouldn't have done that to any other
Even if he
photographer.
wasn't friends, he still would have done it. Don't
Yeah. Well, and that kind of interaction, it's a lot of fun. The other thing too is if you know the venue, you know the bands, you kind of know what's happening. As you realize something unique's happening, something interesting's happening. We have a regular at the bar, Kyler, who donated his hat to a band for a song, and they sang with his hat on. Fucking
Are
loved
you
it.
talking about my band?
Oh yeah,
Because it was John Dublin that wore
John Ward, and
Kyler Dustin Baumgartner's.
I'm fairly certain. I'm fairly certain that he also had
Jurassic
Ace from Zon
I think-
wear it.
He did. It was at the Dad Jokes
It was-
show.
it was the
one
dad
where
show.
they totaled their friggin' rig.
Yep.
Yeah, no, he put it on him as well. It was his Jurassic Kai hat.
Yep.
It's his big round brim one.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I was going to say too. If you are a drummer and you're sick and tired of being lit up, Zon, speaking of those boys, JJ Turner, and he's also in
The Festering?
Yes, it's Zon in the Festering.
yeah.
Sorry, I almost said the Drip, and I was like, nope, that's not right. But Zon in the Festering, and I mean, that guy has lit up his kit. He's got all the LED stuff that's responsive to his kicks and his hits on the toms. It is super dope.
Yep.
So don't be afraid as the artist yourself to light your shit up too. And I will not ever dog anybody for taking the time to light up their cabs. I think that is one of the coolest tricks in the book.
Jesse's got a LED strips and leopard print tape on his bass rack head. I thought it was the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
And I love that some people too, like an old band I used to be in, Prophets of Metal, they actually took the grill out, put the lights on the inside, cut sections of the grill out so it actually had the POM for Prophets of Metal, and then it would actually flash through it.
That's
so
dope. Yeah.
then it would
That's
just like
dope.
light that up whenever it would strobe from the sound activation, triggering it, and it was just so cool to see people when you do that stuff. That's adding flair, and that shows in your photos.
We actually have a class for that at Rock and Roll Camp. No joke.
One of the things I will say, if you're getting LED strips to use with that, because it's often the cheapest and easiest solution to do it.
If you want to go that route.
Right. If you're going to do something like that, some kind of setup, same thing as with the Christmas lights, just test them. If you have the ability to, test them. Make sure they work at higher shutter speeds and that not half of them don't work, because if you want them for just photos, man, some of those photos are not going to have them in there. And that would really suck if you invest the time in it, especially to look better on stage, and half your photos just doesn't have them light up.
To a degree, yes. I mean, that's one of those things. You don't just do that for photography. You're
No,
doing that
absolutely.
for your performance
You're
aspect
doing
as
it for
well.
performance, but
You would hope they get caught, but you never know until you do it.
I mean, if you as a photographer are worth your salt during a show, I think you capture what's in front of you, and that's kind of what I want to get into.
Oh, no, I absolutely agree. One thing, too, is if you're going to buy those LED lights, please research them, because there is a difference between the ones that you get off, like, Amazon for, like, $5 between the ones that you would get at, like, Sweetwater for $60. There are different things. There are different remotes you can activate with them by hand, as opposed to having to be audio activated or trigger activated as well. So please research that stuff. I would suggest always going with the ones that your musical production companies would sell. So like Sweetwater's, Ted Brown's, Musician's Friend, so much. Europe.
Day of the shoot, actually shooting a show, first of all, the biggest recommendation I can give you: have fun. Don't stress it too much. Yes, you're there, you're taking photos, but don't stress it too much. Have fun with it. Goof around. Sure, every once in a while, make sure that you're keeping yourself in check and still taking photos. But yeah, no. For me, like, what I would also recommend is overshooting. Especially during sections with heavy strobes in it for the lighting. Or during a couple hair whips, it's easier to just go click, 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 than just click. The odds are I'm going to nail the shot on one of those 5 photos instead of just the one. Yeah, it'll fill up your SD cards pretty fast. Get a big one if you can,
or multiples.
Swap them out if you need to. But it makes such a big difference when you're able to get that one perfect hair flip with the light behind them going off. It looks great, and that's one of the things that I will definitely say, especially rock and metal. There is so much movement to that music. If a band is performing and not just standing there playing their songs, there's a difference. If a band is performing, they're moving, they're interacting with each other, interacting with the crowd, and it gives you little things to focus on, little things to capture. That can be, like I said, a hair flip. It could be somebody playing on their guitar. If somebody's, especially if it's, I'm probably saying, is it a pinch harmony when you're pinching?
Harmonic?
Harmonic, yeah.
Okay. When you're pinching the strings together. Makes for a really good shot if you can get close enough to capture that. Anything like that, unique instruments, unique actions on stage, interactions between band members, interactions between the band and the crowd, all of that is a point of interest. And interactions can be, you can scream into someone's face as a singer. Makes for a good photo. You can have a laugh with someone in the crowd. You can yell at the crowd as a guitar player. You can, even if you just the typical like crab walk forward as a bass player, especially. I don't know why they
Slav daddy.
Yep.
Go full Slav on them.
You know what? It works, and that's the other thing. We talked about practicing your performance as a band.
On that same front, heads up to you as well as if you are performing on a stage that is well lit and then you decide to go into the crowd.
Yeah.
Odds are it's not going to be caught as well as what the stage is, just because there's usually not lights on the floor to be with bar on stage.
Personally attest to that one. That
And
is the
I will,
truth.
I will. You both can speak to this one too. I'll tell you ahead of time if I get the opportunity to kind of have a chat with you beforehand. Like, hey man, love what you do on stage. Can you do it on that part of the stage where the lights are? That'd be great.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, you've had that talk with me for sure, for sure.
And I do it. The other thing is, I tell guitar players especially, and bass players who like to stand in the far corners of the stage, so they don't bump into a singer who's flailing his arms or whatnot. Which, yeah, that's probably a good point. You don't want to do that. But once you walk out of the area where the lights are, you're not getting your picture taken anymore. And the pictures that are being taken of you need a lot of exposure compensation in post-processing and are just not going to look as good. Get into the light. And if I know a band well enough, especially if they're locals, I will nudge them. I will be like pointing my finger at them, going, get the fuck back over there.
Right.
Yeah, no.
The other thing is, as you're getting on stage, a couple of things to really look out for. Any person with a piece of gear on them can hit you.
I was just about to say, is a potential threat.
It's a threat to your...
Man, we just keep coming back to this Pendleton show, don't we?
No, we really... one of the big things that people don't realize, guitars and bass guitars without clipped strings on the headstock.
Clip your fucking strings. I'm sorry.
Not,
that is a thing of the past. Clip your goddamn strings.
I will not get on stage with you because you are one hand motion away from ruining $2,000 worth of glass.
Yeah. He enjoyed the fact that I...
Is this now an ASMR podcast of your beard?
No, you could actually hear it like...
Yeah. No, it's an ASMR podcast of your beard in the microphone.
Does mine do it?
Oh, yeah.
For fuck's sake.
We're like cats with little scratch things.
I do have another question.
Hold on, I don't know if he was actually done with
Oh, fuck. Sorry, bro.
I wasn't.
Sorry, bro.
I'm
Sorry.
I quite wasn't, but at this
Now
point, I
you've
think
lost
I
it.
am. No.
Sorry.
Other thing, anyone with their backs turned towards you can turn around at any moment. Tap them on the back if you're going to walk past them.
Yeah.
You don't want someone to aggressively swing their guitar backwards. That'll hurt.
Yeah.
And you're going to bump into people. One of the things, and that's not just band members, it's members of the crowd, especially smaller venues. As a
Even in bigger venues.
Yep. As a photographer, it doesn't hurt to make yourself known, make your presence very known to the people around you. But some people aren't going to take notice of you. And personally, I would say whenever I'm holding my camera up, where it's at its most vulnerable, because I'm looking through the lens and I'm not really paying as much attention to my surroundings, my elbows are out. Because I've been kicked with my camera before, I've been punched with my camera before, I've been elbowed with the camera before. I've broken a camera
You've
during
been
set.
Elmoed?
I've been Elmoed. Yeah. It was
Blue Pickle Muppets strike again, my friends.
Those goddamn blue pickle Muppets.
Yeah. No, I was just standing there taking pictures, and somebody comes.
Is that what they did? I thought
Yeah.
it was the, it's a Mario.
It's a me.
Because usually when your camera gets hit, I hear a,
No, that's the follow-up. That's my elbow going back. But no, it's one of the things, mosh pits especially, keep an eye out. I typically shoot with a vertical over the battery grip on my camera with a vertical shutter button, just so I can keep my elbows as far out as possible while I'm taking those photos. There's no show that's worth risking your camera gear for. Be protective of it. You don't have to baby it. It is a show. It's going to take a couple knocks here and there. It's going to happen.
not even Metallica.
I mean, No.
Dude, fuck yourself. Metallica's a shit.
Yeah, but I'm not losing $5,000
this.
over a Metallica set. Nah, not happening.
What if Metallica bought you all new gear?
Yeah, what if they were like, Jan,
You just got to get photos,
Oh,
but if it gets
man.
fucked, you just
Oh,
ask someone to punch it at the end, right?
Would I really want gear bought with Napster money? Anyway,
I mean,
chat.
I mean, yeah.
maybe not Saint Anger money though.
What about that snare tone though? You don't want the royalties.
Can we get
from
him off
that
the
snare?
podcast?
I mean, he's a drummer, so I don't
Dude,
know.
I'm gonna just throw this out there because we're like off
Yeah.
topic as fuck right now.
We're not that far.
I love the fucking snare on Saint Anger.
Okay, we are kicking him off the podcast.
I don't give a shit.
My buddy once told me, and don't get me wrong, not my favorite Metallica album ever, but it's one of those things where he was like, Saint Anger sucks unless you're really pissed off and you blare that shit. He's like, when you're pissed off and you blare that shit, whole different perspective on
Yeah,
how
when you
much you
stop
like
caring
that
about
album.
music and just start caring about being angry, it's okay.
But that was kind of the point of it being Saint Anger, was it was meant to be just like overly driven angry music is what their opinion
You can't
was.
ruin such beautiful guitar work with that horrible fucking snare. I'm sorry.
That snare was
I'm just saying it's not as bad as everyone makes it out to be.
It's bad for who made it.
Can we all
Anyway,
just talk like this for a second?
I just want to talk
okay.
about this for
So one of the things that I'm gonna fucking not do that.
Can I say what I wanted to say now
Yes.
about your mosh pit? Pay attention to the photographer. Being a vocalist, I see it happen all the time. I hate it when I see my friends like Jan or Phil or someone, and they're really trying to go for the good shots, and everyone around them is being douchebags. Pay attention. They're not there to be in your way. They're there to capture the moment for the band that paid them to be there. So yeah, you're in the moment. You're in the breakdown.
Or maybe for the promoter that paid for them to be there.
Exactly. So if you're there and you're doing your thing, and I'm not going to say that I've never moshed aggressively and not paid attention to my surroundings because I've done it a lot. Just try to gauge that. Am I going to accidentally flail into him? Am I going to ruin a shot for him that he's been working really hard to get? And yes, I understand being in the moment at a show. You're in the pit. You're feeling the breakdown. But just be aware, because there's no worse feeling from a vocalist or a band we paid this guy to show up and his $5,000 rig got broken.
And on that note,
That is a very shitty feeling.
on that note too, it's not the best feeling as a photographer either. I can vouch for that. And the thing there is, you got to be careful as a photographer too. I get that. And that's one of the things that I will definitely say. As much as you want other people to look out for you, the one person who's going to look out for your gear most is you. That comes down to being safe around mosh pits, nudging people on stage.
I just wanted to do it one more time. Keep talking. You don't have to stop because I'm weird.
I am stopping so that I can just get the audio clip of this afterwards.
Hey, yours does it so much better.
Yours does it good too. You just don't do that roll on it is the problem. Yeah, I chihuahua.
Are we going?
Still better than the St. Niagara snare tone. Anyway.
Just saying, it's actually not that fucking bad. I've heard worse.
Oh. No, the other thing too, for me, like I like to shoot with multiple lenses, and one of the things I do is I'll like set them out by the soundboard, with the permission from the sound guy.
I was going to say with the permission of the sound person.
That's another reason to show up fucking early. And
odds are one of the safest places in a venue is next to the sound person. Not always true.
I was going to say, you would think that.
The tin hat when I'm indoors for like the cold season, not the safe space.
And that's see if there is a safe place to put your shit.
If it's a small bar, ask if you can talk to the staff too.
And that's one of the things too. Like on the small bar that you have shows at, I have my gear sitting behind the bar on a counter, and because the bar staff all knows me, I occasionally climb on top of the bar to get some photos because it's a fun fucking angle. They all know I do it.
Nasty booty dance.
Oh, there's
Coyote
to
Ugly.
get the attention of the band. Oh yeah. No, it's to get the attention of the band so that way they're looking at him when he takes those sweet nip shots.
I will say it.
He got me.
It does work when you climbed on top of the bar while we were playing. I was like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
got a sweet fucking angle though.
Sweet.
Made you look
ass.
short though. I'm sorry.
Right up there, in my face.
You don't have to try to do that. I'm 5'6". Come on,
you
guys.
went
I
there.
lied on my ID.
You manlet. Anyway.
What?
Anyway.
He's foreign. He said it. You decipher.
The other thing is post-production. Let's go to post-production.
Let's just go there.
Post, the one place we can't fix Trevor in.
Anal seepage.
I'm going to cry on this
Oh,
podcast.
good. I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
I love it.
Do you ever feel like a plastic bag?
Because you farted again. What the fuck?
Sorry, Dad. I'm sorry.
fucker.
I had super spicy chicken from Woo's.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Yeah, today's been too good.
Post-production.
Yeah,
Post-production. Where everyone can look beautiful.
Well,
You just said it could fix Trevor.
I said it couldn't fix Trevor.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why we went on that big tangent.
Yeah.
I thought he said because it's the only place it could fix Trevor.
No, but it
like
can-
you
No,
were
there's-
saying
there's-
you're
there's-
naturally-
It is, however, the
No,
place.
there's no saving it.
It is, however, the place where you can delete his photos.
Fair enough.
Post-production, for me, and this is my personal process, I tend to, when I come home, the first thing I do, I don't stop to grab a drink. I get home, I load my SD card, and I start loading those files over to my computer, just in case something were to happen. I don't want to accidentally, the next day have another shoot, pick up my camera, hit format card, go, fuck, there's the whole concert gone. If you come home, unload your camera. Once you do that, for me, the process is pretty simple. I start, sifting through the images. The first ones I take out of there are the ones where it's just pitch black. If you're shooting between strobes and you catch a shot between a strobe going off, yeah, it's going to be a pitch black image. There's no saving that. Even with RAW files, you can't get that info back. It's not going to be as good because you're typically going to shoot at a pretty high ISO, which is fine. Higher ISO means noisier photos. But you know what? A noisier photo of a awesome moment is better than a blurry photo where you can't see what's happening. That's kind of the trade-off. But no, and I start picking through the photos, and honestly, I look for events that I remember happened. If I remembered, there was a guitar player doing a scissor kick jump in the middle of the set, where's that moment? I just go through until
Or
I
a
see it.
singer dropping his fucking clothes off to where he's just in his fucking mankini.
No, sir. Yeah, there's that. Or, somebody
Or
coming.
what about when he runs around the room shirtless, just fluttering like a butterfly?
Yep, there's that photo.
These are all photos of me, by the way.
I figured as much. I was just imagining. Honestly, I'm not even gonna lie. I was
The
picturing it.
dangler wrangler.
I was picturing that in my head.
The dangler wrangler.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like them Daisy Dukes.
I just like it when
Captain
you take your clothes
Dadbod
off.
is a phenomenon.
Captain Dadbod.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, he
Captain
totally
Dadbod.
is.
I'm sorry, my favorite, of like my personas.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. If
Yeah.
that's the case, I was going to say my favorite's still steak sauce.
That's steak sauce.
They inspire me so much. It's not even funny.
No wipe in my diaper.
No more
No context. But what are you gonna do with that anal seepage then?
Depends.
Where depends. And enjoy a nice.
Squishy seat. As you enjoy
Post production.
an episode of our weekly podcast, BPMs.
Now, typically, I'll go through and go like, what are the moments that I really remember? It's why I tend to try and sift through these as close to the actual shoot as I can, because
You'll forget.
yeah, it's it's a long night typically, fair few hours of being there. There's a bunch of songs being played. I typically don't photograph every song, but you're gonna get a few images. The reason I say not every song is because, dude, I get tired too. And
You deserve a sippy sip.
and it's
Doink.
and at some point I want to,
It was funny, dude. I'm sorry.
I know
I'm trying so hard.
Keep going. You got to quit stopping because
anyway,
I'm fucking crying.
so
anal seepage.
fucking hell.
You guys made the button. It's your own goddamn fault at this point. Anal seepage. Nothing anyone can do for any of you. I can just say anal seepage, whereas you guys are like anal seepage, and it doesn't even hold up to my anal seepage.
No, it
so
doesn't.
It
then you
doesn't hold
do-
up to your anal seepage.
So then you guys anal seepage do that, and I'm just sitting here like anal seepage. Why do they need that? They've got me. I'm right here. Anal seepage. They hit the button again, and I'm just anal seepage. Anal seepage. Anal seepage. You don't need that button. I'm right here, guys. Okay. Anyway, get back on track. Go.
I don't even know where the track
I don't
was.
know where I
You're
am.
finishing
There
up
wasn't a minute.
post-production.
Oh,
yeah,
you're finishing up post-production.
yeah.
You try to go through the photos as close to the show after it's done because you get tired and then you have a chance to take a break because you deserve breaks and you deserve a sippy sipper or drinky drink.
Yeah. The other thing is like every once in a while, because I want to enjoy the music as well. I'll put my camera down with someone I trust and just jump into the mosh pit myself, especially if before that somebody hit my camera in the mosh pit and, oh man, I'm going to get back at you.
Jump around. Jump up and get down.
When I'm going through those images, the other thing is to know what I'm looking for and for who. For if I'm shooting for the promoter, I'm going to look for images that really highlight the show. And that means sometimes more fan interactions. It means more, what are we messing around with? What makes this show fun? What photo am I going to look at? I'm like, I'm going to go to this show. It's something that really plays in the back of my mind as I'm selecting these images. Similarly, if I'm there for a band, like, what's going to make this band look cool? And typically those photos I'm going to pick out anyway because I want to go to cool bands. But if a band is paying me to shoot a particular set of images, I'm going to look for those. I'm like, hey, we really want an image of a drummer going ham. It's like, okay, where the fuck's the drummer going ham? Like, I know I took a picture of it. Where is it? Things like that you got to look for. And sometimes I go back through next day. They're like, oh, fuck, that was a cool moment. I did capture that. Select it. And then eventually you edit them, fix the exposures on them. You can fix a lot in post. I tend to not edit too much. I don't take blemishes out typically. Don't really process skin the way I would for a portrait. But also, I'm sitting on 100 photos that I got to deliver, and I want to deliver those as soon as possible. Typically, whenever I shoot one of your shows, my goal is next day, have them on social media. And I think I've nailed that every single time so far.
I think there was only one time. It was like the day after, but I think you were feeling kind of crummy that night.
Yeah.
As it was anyway. So I was like, dude, it's fine. As long as you get it to me within like the next 3-4 days, I'm cool.
There's only been one time you've taken a photo of me and asked you to like edit it because I had a fatty zit right here. Fatty.
So here's something I would kind of like. Great, now I got to get my brain back on track. I got to get my brain back.
I can speak to it a little more.
Talk a little more.
One of the other things that if you're shooting, because this is talking about doing small shows, if you have deliverables for magazines, if you are being contracted by a magazine, and we'll get into doing that here in a second, you typically want to make sure that you get your best quality images that represent that show. And typically for a magazine, you get far fewer than if you were to shoot for a promoter or a band. A band is going to want 50 photos of them looking cool. A promoter is going to want a full social media album of how that show was. A magazine wants 3 to 4 photos. Which 3 to 4 photos are you going to pick that truly represent what that show was like? And that makes it very difficult to narrow down. On that note, like I can't really advise anyone what to pick. I would personally say, make sure you capture the headliner in there. Make sure if there's an opener that did great or had a particularly awesome show, get that in there. And something that shows off the venue, and if you can, the crowd size. That tends to just really sell well. Yeah. I see Blaine writing furiously.
Okay, so we're going to go into what I'm going to call bullet round or speed round.
Sure, hit me.
So I'm going to throw out a few questions. I don't want you to like spend long times on these, but I want you to give, just quick answer kind of things. And Trevor, if you have something to, feel free. So at the beginning, you kind of stated that like landscapes, anything kind of like taking photography. What would you say is like the genuine response? Because my father also does landscapes, and he's always said, I cannot capture people to save my life. Is that something that as a photographer, you just kind of have to accept at some point?
Honestly, it's a matter of what you enjoy doing. Your father can capture people. He just doesn't enjoy it, and because he doesn't enjoy it, he doesn't do it. I think that's the gist of it. For a lot of people, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to have a lot of fun with it. I think as you're...
So you think it's more of the fun aspect? Like, I'm actually enjoying this, and that's why I like what I do.
It's the enjoying it that leads to the repetition, which leads to the skill set.
Okay, that's a fair enough answer.
That makes actually really good sense.
Raw photos, bands requesting those or all the photos. Why would you not give them to them?
First of all, go fuck yourself as a band if you ask for all my photos. I just told you, probably 2/3, 3/4 of them are going to be black. You don't want those. The other thing is, you're asking me to sign my name to something. Photography, as I just went, it's a 3-stage process: pre-production and post-production. If you want my finished product, that's after post-production, and post-production includes image selection. If we have an agreement there that I'm going to deliver an X amount of photos to you, then that's the amount of photos you get. If you want all the photos I took, no, some of those are just not going to be good photos, and I don't want my name on them.
Yeah, I know that makes sense.
The other thing when it comes to that is the raw photos. If you want unedited photos, no, you don't. You really don't.
Yeah, you really don't. I've seen what you do, and I've sat with you through your editing process, and I'm like, holy crap, why would I ever want the raw of this?
Yeah. There's one more thing to that, and that's a very quick one. If you've seen an image on the back of my camera that you're like, man, that's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool when it's, the size of my finger.
Of a fucking quarter.
When you blow it up to social media size, when you blow it up to a screen, a real screen, you might realize, holy crap, that photo wasn't even in focus.
Yeah. Another question for you. How often do you actually get shouted out as a photographer when bands like reshare your photos? Do you get that quite regularly, or is it something you kind of have to go back to and be like, hey guys, could you possibly give me a shout out on this since you...
It's few and far between.
I'm getting called out right now.
No. I have made this mistake before myself, and it's something I want to bring up. I mean...
It's few and far between. And it also depends like how much I mind it. Also depends on how that band got that image. If they paid me my regular rate For those photos, fuck it, I suppose they're their images now. If they got them because, you know, it was a show that I was shooting anyway, if it was something that got a discount, or they bought it through the promoter, whatever, come on, guys, credit me. Like, ideally, just credit the photographer. Typically, it happens the first 1 or 2 times that photo is posted. After that, it stops happening. It's annoying. I don't like putting large watermarks on my photos, but sometimes I've started to.
That brings me to my final question. Watermarks. So you doing them for me as a promoter, you obviously throw my watermark on them, just because it's like, hey, you were the client. I'm putting your watermark on it to show people that it's like, hey, you like the show. It's a Papa Bear and Associates production. Yeah. Now, how much of a you don't like using watermarks? I know that, but at the same time, what are your thoughts on people who take photos and then remove the watermark?
If you ever want any professional to work with you ever again, don't fucking do it. It's that simple. If you get known for taking, and trust me, we fucking talk. And if you start taking watermarks over things, typically what I'm going to assume is that you're using that photo in a commercial sense and you didn't pay that photographer for it. Why the fuck would I work with you? There's local bands who I refuse to photograph for that reason. It's simple. If you are going to screw someone over, I don't want to deal with you.
It's kind of one of the things that kind of irks me too. When obviously I want people to see the shows when I'm having you come out and take photography for the performances. I want people to see what we're doing. I want them to see how we're growing, and I want bands to feel comfortable because, like you said, that's how you kind of first started getting in contact with me. Is it's like, no, he's actually taking photos of this. He actually really wants people to see that there's live music going on here.
And it wasn't like you said, it wasn't just photos of the bands. It was photos of your crowd. It was photos of your bar staff. It was photos of everything, and it encased the whole Papa Bear experience. And dude, that's one of the main reasons I wanted to work with you.
Oh, one of the other things too is that when we're talking about the whole experience as a photographer, that also includes drunk people coming up to you. Dude, take a picture of me and my girlfriend, bro. We're looking real good right now. I was like, no, you fucking don't. Sorry.
You still take the shot anyway.
I'll still take the shot, or at least point the camera in their direction for a second and go, great, now I'm going to go back to the band.
Yeah. But anyway, the point that I was going to get at was that watermarks, it really upsets me too that when I see a lot of bands grab those off the Papa Bear and Associates page and then they're using it. Now, it makes me happy to a degree because I love the fact that you're supporting, a photo that came from one of my events that was gone through my friend as a photographer. But at the same time too, if I have a watermark on there, what's it going to hurt you to leave the PB&As?
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's literally a circle with a bear face that says PB&A.
I love your watermark, and I love the Johnny fucking Mango watermark. So why the fuck would you get rid of something that looks good?
It's not like I'm going to take personal offense and be like, fuck you, you're never welcome back in my venue. But it does hurt my feelings a little bit that it's like, you like the photo enough, but you don't like it enough to support the guy who paid the photographer to take the photo that you would have never gotten in the first place had I not done that transaction.
That's like a slap in the face.
It kind of is.
One of the things I know, that one of the reasons that some bands have taken them off before, because I've reached out to some, like, hey man, I just got a sponsored Facebook post where you're promoting your Bandcamp or whatever, the Flying Duck, and it's a photo that I took, and I know there was a Papa Bear watermark on there, but the watermark's not on there. It's like, well, yeah, we wanted to crop the photo down, and then the watermark was too big for Facebook standards. Because Facebook used to have a maximum text and images allowed rule, and they would crop it out for that reason. I'm like, first of all, that's a bullshit reason, because I know how big I make that watermark for that reason. And second of all, if you just, like, you're boosting a post, that is commercial use of an image you're not paying for.
Right.
That is something to keep in mind. Now, keep in mind, I'm not a lawyer. Right. I'm not going around.
And I'm not going to go after people and sue them either. It's whatever.
But subpoena them with a cease and desist.
Well, but the thing is, like, it's not that technically. Yeah, it's probably a gray area. But at the end of the day, it's bad manners, and I don't think if you do that, it leaves a good taste in anyone's mouth.
It's called common courtesy and respect.
Yeah.
That's all it is. If I'm going out of my way to pay extra money for him so that way bands have photos that they can see on Facebook, because a lot of you can't afford to pay for a photographer for like a true high-end experience.
Especially if you're traveling.
And it's one of those things that always irritated me when I would perform is it's like there's never anybody with a fucking camera other than a phone, and they always suck. I want you guys to be seen. I want you guys to have those photos. I want people to see the experience of coming to the live music and drawing new people. For the love of God, show the minor respect of leaving the Papa Bear and Associates watermark. Leave the Johnny Mango watermark. Leave anybody who puts their fucking watermark on it.
There's one more thing to that, and that's images that I have taken that went in a magazine aren't my images anymore.
Right. Because they bought them from you.
They bought them. If you're going to take the images from the magazine and use them for your promotion, a magazine might have a legal team. I don't.
Right.
The way I see it is if there's a watermark or branding on an image, there's a reason for it.
And if you don't want that watermark or branding,
go buy the photo.
No. If somebody was to be calm enough and kind enough to just reach out to me and be like, Blaine, I really love this set of photos. Can I get them without the watermark? Odds are I'm probably not even going to charge you. I'd ask Johnny Mango if he's going to charge you, because that's his prerogative at that point. Because I know I'm getting a discounted rate because I use him on a regular basis. So it's not like I'm going to charge you $100 for the night because, to a band, because you're only going to do it one time. He knows that working with me, anytime there's a show, you are always welcome and you will always be paid. It's not a question. We have a set number, and if that number ever changes, we discuss it. That's fine. But if anybody wanted to use those photos, if they just asked me, I'd be like, yeah, I have no problem. Let me ask Johnny real quick, and if he's cool with it, then I have no care in the world. I'll ask him if he can pull them off. But he might ask you, hey, for me to go back and take all those watermarks off, just kick me $20 or $50 or whatever you guys agree upon. I don't care. I don't want to set numbers for you.
No, you're absolutely fine.
They're just
and honestly,
spitballing.
like typically, if you're going to give it to them for free, I don't mind doing it. Especially now, mind you, that's typically if it's the next day. If you're going to ask me for photos for 3 months ago that are on backup drives that I don't have to dig for, I'm going to ask for some compensation because it's going to take me time, and that's what you're paying for, my time.
Fair enough.
So real quick, I don't want to end just yet. I want to go into your videography. I know we're at an hour and 12 minutes. I want people to kind of get an idea of why you started getting into videography, how you're researching it, going from a photographer to the videography side of things. And then you say that there's a lot of things that are, the camera side of it gives you a really good basis and foundation for how to get into the videography. But what are some of the things that are not? Granted, I just threw you 3 different topics. I'll refresh.
I got you. Okay. So the reason I wanted to do it is because it's always kind of piqued my interest. I've been wanting to learn more skills during the pandemic. Video was one of those things that I kind of had on that list. Because for me, I've always wanted to get into music video production. I love the idea of it. It leaves for a lot of artistic merit in there. You're not just documenting. I'm like, man, I would love to do that. Would I love to video live shows? I'm not sure.
Right.
It's more of a risk to my gear, I feel.
Right.
But that's something, once live shows come back, we'll see.
I feel that would be harder, too, because you need stabilizers and all sorts of extra stuff for that.
If we're doing it for music videos, I think it would be easier because you can just cut away when it gets too shaky.
Right.
But and when it comes to that, that's the other thing. There's no hiding things in video.
Right.
Not to the degree you can hide some things in photography. If I have a bad exposure, it's going to show more on video than it is on photography. It's that simple. Really having a basis in it helps me a lot. Relearning how to deal with things like shutter speed, things like how to expose for certain lighting situations. They're all just a little bit off from photography. But yeah, the other thing though is I can hide things in ways that I couldn't in photography.
Right.
Because if there's like something weird in the image, in a photo, I'm gonna have to Photoshop it out. In a video, how many frames is it on for? Nah, it's fine. If you got 24 photos per second effectively, if in one of those you see something that you don't want to see or something that doesn't look right, it's probably fine. And it just doesn't have as much of an impact. So that's a lot of fun for me. The other thing for me is like the learning process of it is just very enjoyable. Right now, been going about it, but we shot the intro, we shot our promo stuff, we're going back for that and keeping just trying to think of like what would someone with a full budget and a full production background try and do with this. And I go and look at other people's work. I'm like, okay, how would I apply this to the idea that we have? Things like that. There's a lot of basically learning from other people's experience, but also just putting it into practice. And I think that's anything artistic. If you're trying to grow a skill set, is repetition.
So what have you found to be comparisons that from the photography realm that have helped with the foundations of the videography, and then what have you found that is significantly different?
So some of the things that I find very similar is how you want to light people's faces, how you want to separate foreground and background. Light stays the same. Mm-hmm. Big difference is constant lights versus strobes. It's not the same. Working with them, it just feels slightly different. For a strobe, it's like, and I'm done. For a constant light, it's like, okay, this is great, but if this person's going to turn their head that way, is that still going to look great?
Right.
The other thing, too, is like the storytelling. In a photo, I can tell a story in the blink of an eye, whereas with video, it's the transition of one image to the next.
You've got to show the guy getting ready to take a shower. And
that's exactly the thing I have in my mind, but I'm not sure how.
Let's not go into too much detail.
Let's not go into that.
Spoiler alert!
Yes, that is a nice spoiler on my car. Anyway.
You saw the Scion TC as well.
Okay. Yeah. And then what are some things that are very significantly different?
The things that are very significantly different, the resolution you're working at, can't crop shit. Mm-hmm. Can't hide things. There's a lot of things there. When I say some things, I can just, no, they're in the frame. They're in the frame. You're going to have to deal with that image now.
Right.
If somebody has a blemish on their face, photography, it's that in Photoshop. Video, how good are we with makeup, really?
Right.
Maybe it's travertine.
Spoiler alert. Anyway, I don't know. You did it to me. I just figured it. Maybe it's travertine. So anyway, yeah. Is there any other questions that you have for me?
This has been such a great episode for me because you
didn't have to talk much?
Well, no, not because
you just kind of sat there.
But I learned a lot.
Pick your nose a lot. I wasn't looking at you.
No,
I was kind of
trying
to make
I did bring the beard comb this time.
You just kept brushing.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep straightening. Oh God, yes. Anyway, is there anything else you would like to throw out there about photography, concert photography, or getting into videography before you? Yes, you're lost in his mesmerization, aren't you?
I am just.
I don't even have to
I'm just realizing.
Have to look at him, and I know everything that's happening.
At some point, I'm going to have to make a compilation of the beard rubbing on the microphones.
Yes, you are. Anyway,
I'm so glad we do not share microphones.
Me too.
I'll lick them later. But no, the big thing is if you're wanting to get into concert photography, the most giant piece of advice I can give you is do it. Just do it. Just go and do it. Honestly, I found that I kind of jumped into it way faster than I thought I was going to. If you're familiar enough with your camera, just get out there, take photos, and keep taking photos. And as you find out what you like, do more of that.
It's kind of like what we talk about with musicians. You will not get better until you practice. Practice. And doing it is the best form of practice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely is.
Even if you just, I feel like people are scared to try new things, for one. And like me personally, I would never go out of my way
anal seepage
to buy a Sony A7 III because of the price, and I don't know cameras.
Well, that's because I also didn't fucking start with a Sony A7 III.
Exactly. So I think people are scared to take the leap because they're like, it costs so much and this and that. No, just go pick up a fucking camera and shoot some bands.
And when it comes to that, my very first series of concerts that I photographed, I shot on a Nikon D5300 with a Nikkor 50mm 1.8 lens. That is a setup that would run you about $400 total. It's not the most massive investment to get started.
In all reality, I mean, You don't want the $100 Walmart option.
No.
I don't think those things capture well enough. I don't think they do a job justice. Your
What
phone at that point is just the same equivalent, in my opinion.
The big thing I would say what you want to go for is something that is responsive, it feels good in your hand, and has an interchangeable lens system that you can get into the ecosystem of, whether that's Canon, whether that's Nikon, whether that's Sony. Look at your price range, and I would say if you're going to spend money on it, probably most of your budget should go to your glass, because your lenses are going to make a far bigger difference than your camera buddy ever will.
Cool. All right, you good?
Yeah.
You good?
Yeah.
Then, ladies and gentlemen, I think
slide that up a little, though.
There's one thing that I that I do want to point out real
He
quick.
said he was done.
I fucking hate these assholes. Because as soon as he said, well, but you gotta wait, and then I looked at him, I was like, you're stalling for him to fucking kick it in. aren't you?
No, I told you to turn the slider up.
And I looked at you as well
was
because
doing.
I'm not a fucking idiot.
I'm gonna run away now.
Real question though, Blaine. Who you repping?
I don't know. Trevor, who you repping?
I am repping the boys in Distinguisher. They're a deathcore, hardcore band out of, I don't know what state to tell you, honestly. But they make good music. Really do.
Wow, that wasn't much. You want to go into a little more?
I think the last time I saw them play was in 2018 at the Pin with Extortionist. I had a mega brain fart. I don't know why you chose me first.
We're waiting.
I like the design. I like the gray and red.
Yeah, no, I do like the gray and red. The shirt was a gift also from, conveniently enough, Matt Cernick.
Cynic.
He lost a bunch of weight and wanted to get rid of some of his duds. So I said, yeah, I'll take that merch package. I'll take it.
Fair.
They're from Texas, aren't they?
No, I'm not even looking at your shit.
I got to go look now.
Okay. Well, I'm repping a band from Illinois. I happen to know the state of the band that I'm repping. I'm repping Victims today, the Halfway Happy shirt. Love that it's red. Love that it's wild. And when it comes to bands that I love photographing, their drummer, Meredith?
Yeah, Meredith.
Absolute performer.
Yeah,
Goes ham on the drum kit, jumps around.
Stands on her chair.
Yep.
Just banging shit while she's standing on the chair.
It's definitely, it's one of those things that I love seeing it live. I love capturing it. It's a ton of fun, and it's one of those things like the unique elements of a band. Yeah, definitely. And I don't know what genre I would qualify them as, but I'm sure Trevor has like a list of
New deathcore.
Victims. Just new deathcore.
Yeah, just new deathcore, because it's really hard to, with the way things have been going in the deathcore realm and the experimentalness of it. It's pretty much just new deathcore.
Cool.
It's just a different blend of it.
Did you figure out where they're from?
No, it's not on their bio.
Shut down. But, go ahead.
On here?
No.
But I'm pretty sure they're from Texas. Pretty sure.
You can murder him in his sleep if he's wrong.
Yeah.
So anyway, the band that I am representing, this is actually one of my favorite shirts for design-wise. This thing is freaking awesome. It's like a mechanized swamp thing, and it's just dope as all hell. The band Hollowed Catharsis, Lita and the boys are fucking tearing it up. I know they're from Canada. I get tired of saying Canada all the time, so it's Vancouver, BC specifically. They are a death metal band. Very easy to describe them that way. Really good. Lita is very impressive on the vocals. I cannot state that enough. The band are just some of the coolest guys I've ever met in my life, and there's not a single Canadian band that doesn't kick ass that I've dealt with.
Nickelback. This is true.
Fuck off. I like
They're
Nickelback.
Canadian?
Are they?
yeah.
Nickelback's fucking... What the...
No, I'm thrown off. Is that true? Google that. I need an answer. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the Hollow Catharsis. I will be back to talk to you about it in a sec. I need to know this right now. They're Canadian?
Hana, Canada.
Holy shit.
Is that all about, eh?
Holy shit. I had no idea. Nickelback's Canadian. What's that all about? But anyway,
Look at this grill.
look at this grill.
How fitting for this episode.
Right. But anyway, the Hollow Catharsis is awesome. Killer death metal band or deathcore band. Phenomenal. I really can't suggest them enough. They are all super technically talented, all very, very, very impressive. And I absolutely love when I run into them because it's the guitarist and the bassist that are always like, oh, it's our favorite American. And I'm just like, oh my God. So, hey, if it's any recollection, that means that I don't just call them all Canadians. They all call us Americans and just leave it at that and don't worry about the states either.
Nobody has ever called me their favorite American.
Because you're their
not
favorite foreigner.
American, by any right?
Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
That was the cutest little yeehaw.
Little
That's gonna be
yeehaw.
Jan's sound clip. We're gonna get a
Fuck.
yeehaw.
Anyway, so that's who you're repping. Make sure to check out all those bands. We've got Distinguisher, The Hollow Catharsis, and Victims. And Victims is spelled VCTMS, just for the record. So you don't
Fun
have to
fact
feel that.
about that.
And Austin,
Yes.
What?
is that the fun fact?
No, fun fact about their name is it actually used to be spelled VICTIMS.
Yeah.
But they changed it. I don't know why.
I was going to say fun fact. Your guitarist in your
yeah.
band.
Fun fact: the guitarist of Cold Hearts actually has had some very great opportunities in his life. His name is Austin Henderson. He's been on tour with Victims twice now, and he also filled in for Artificial Aliens on their Southern tour. And he's also got some
bass on all those, right?
Yeah, he filled in on bass on all those because I don't know why, but I mean, I guess we're just lucky in the deathcore world to have a bassist. But no, he's also got some other lucrative offers coming up too once touring and shows become a thing again, and I'm really excited for him on those ones.
Yeah, it's super
really
cool.
excited. He's got some really great opportunities, and I love him to death, and he deserves every second of it.
You know, that would actually, now that I'm having it, we're going to brainstorm for a quick second. It would actually be a pretty cool thing to get Austin on here for an episode to discuss what it's like trying to get signed up with other bands and running their tours with them.
Being
when
a
they need
free
fill-ins.
agent, yeah.
Free agent.
Free
What
agents.
it's like to be that into Nickelback.
Yeah, we.
I mean, he has done covers of it online.
Another fun fact is we do a very shitty rendition of Nickelback, Animals, and it's fucking great.
Anyway, but yeah, no, actually, I really think that'd be a pretty cool idea to sit down and
no.
what it's like being a free agent. That'd be pretty cool.
With
hey,
that
you
being
get to see
said-
the process as it happens. We should do a free agent episode. Yeah, man, that's pretty dope. We should do that. Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Well, I think we should make it happen then, boys.
With that being
Blue
said,
Pickle Muppets.
I'm trying to do my bit. Now I know how you feel.
So, actually, one thing, when it comes to, if you're a photographer, one thing you want to do is promote yourself a lot. So make sure people hit that bell, hit that like button, subscribe to your channel.
Check us out on YouTube at Papa Bear and Associates, and also go to Facebook.com where you can go to Papa Bear and Associates. You can also find us individuals on like Instagram and Twits and all those fucking things too. But yeah, just make sure to like, subscribe, and follow.
You're
with
really
that
getting
bell.
on my twits right now.
You're really getting on my Twits.
I know he just did it, but I'm going to do it again. Make
Oh,
sure you
shit.
hit the fucking notification bell. You can follow us all individually on.
Anal seepage, anal seepage, anal seepage, anal seepage. That's where you can follow us.
Exactly. You
Also,
can find
Go to Linktree/BPM podcast.
Oh, also, just to let everybody know, too, we are working on the fact of getting everything onto the streaming services. So when we do that, we will make a huge announcement of it. We are in the final stages of doing that. We have decided on what company to go with. We are just making sure that it works best for what we're doing.
And if you've listened to all of this on YouTube and are now finding out that it's going to be on a different platform, surprise!
Surprise.
We're still going to go to YouTube, don't worry.
Yes, we will still be supporting our YouTube channel, and we will be doing that. We are also looking at making merch. So just so everybody knows, I am looking at making Papa Bear and Associates, BPM. We're looking at doing a whole bunch of cool stuff with that. Shirts, possibly hats, a couple of little different things. We're doing stickers, things of that nature. Another thing, too, that I would like to bring up is that we have been working on ideas for more shows. So we are not just stopping at the BPM level. So since this is episode 9, maybe episode 10 should be when we make some fun little announcements.
sweet fandangled announcements.
Yeah. So what was it we said not to say on the last episode?
Big announcements coming soon.
There we go.
Brought to you by
Shut up,
BPM.
Yod. We're stuck here, okay? Seepage. It's all we've got left.
Associates.
Papa Bear and Associates. I'm kind of holding out because I really want to stop this timer right at an hour and 30 minutes.
So we got.
Even though I know that a few of these seconds
it's
were
gonna get clipped
actually,
off.
I know, but maybe we could leave it for once. Maybe we could be special. Maybe
I'm not doing the
just
whole,
maybe,
like, getting
just
sound check in
maybe.
there. No.
We would like to thank you all for checking out Papa Bear and Associates BPM. Thank you and much love. Well, Papa Bear and Associates does not take any responsibility for sexual complications while listening to this program. Side effects have been known to include sweating, extended and unexpected erections, perked nipples, butt clenching, inflammation of the testicles, and anal seepage. Furthermore, if you are experiencing any of these symptoms, you should make sure to send us your non-graphic pictures for our viewing pleasure. Thank you and much love.